Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Page Nichols, and I'm the pastoral counselor with the Office of Campus Ministry here at King's University College. And it is absolutely my pleasure to welcome you this evening into our new Daryl J. King Student Life Center and our new Joanne and Peter Kenny Theater. This is the first of our Religious Life Lecture Series for 2014. The theme for this year's lecture series is inspiration, and I am more than confident that you will be inspired tonight. I would now like to invite Dr. Hassan Mostafa, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Islamic Center of Southwest Ontario, to introduce this evening's speaker.
Assalamu alaikum. I greet you with the Islamic universal greeting of peace. It is indeed an honor for us to be here tonight, and I'd like to relay how pleased we are as how the Muslim community in London has joined forces with our brothers and sisters in both the Jewish community as well as the Christian community through King's College to put together such programs, because as it says in our holy book, the Quran, how God says we created you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. And to us, as Muslims living here in Canada, that is a very important concept as we strive to integrate and become ideal citizens here in Canada. I have the pleasure of acquainting you and introducing to you our guest speaker tonight. When we were contacted and asked for who would be a suitable speaker we'd like to bring from the Muslim community, a few names were suggested to us, and those names were very academic. They came from America. They didn't really relay and didn't really represent who the Muslim community in London or in southwestern Ontario or even in Canada really are. And so he said, well, give me a name. And so I instinctively thought of our guest speaker tonight. And after having dinner with him just now, it was eminently obvious how this gentleman truly exemplifies the nature of being a true good Muslim and represents us very well. Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish is a MD. He's a Palestinian physician and an internationally recognized human rights and inspirational peace activist. He's the first Palestinian doctor to receive an appointment in medicine at an Israeli hospital. Through his work, he's had the opportunity to experience the impacts of conflict in countries like Palestine, Egypt, Israel, Uganda, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia. Working as both an insider and an outsider to conflict led him to consider doctors as peacemakers by the moral doctrine of their profession. His work as both a healthcare practitioner and a peace advocate mobilizes health as a tool for peace. Dr. Abuelaish has overcome many personal hardships, including poverty, violence, and the horrific tragedy of his 3 daughters and niece's death in the 2009 Gaza war. Yet he continues to live up to the description bestowed upon him by an Israeli colleague as a magical, secret bridge between the Israelis and Palestinians. He is now one of the most outspoken and prominent and beloved researchers, educators, and public speakers on peace and development in the Middle East. Dr. Abulaish's book, I Shall Not Hate, which is available outside, and which my wife and I have been fervently reading over the last week, is an autobiography of his loss and transformation and has received critical acclaim. The book has become an international bestseller and was inspired by the loss of his 3 daughters, Bassan, Mayar, and Aya, and their cousin Noor, to the Israeli shelling in January of 2009. Dr. Abuelaish has been interviewed by major media in dozens of countries by leading journalists and prominent personalities such as Christiane Amanpour, Anderson Cooper, Sir David Frost, and has appeared on numerous prominent media outlets such as BBC, Fox, CNN, and Globe and Mail, The Economist, The New York Times. He's also been named as one of the 500 most influential Muslims in the world by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies in Jordan. He has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, and they continue to support his candidacy every year. Dr. Abuelaish has founded Daughters for Life, a Canadian charity that provides young women in high school and university the opportunity to develop a strong voice and play a more influential role in their lives and in their communities. Tonight at dinner, we were discussing ways that we could actually incorporate Daughters for Life here in London. Hopefully you'll be able to hear more about that, and we'll try to support that fund. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish.
Good evening. This is a special day. This is a moment for me and you now, in which every individual must relieve himself of everything called the other. And we must address at this moment one robe, the robe of humanity. As a believer, as a Muslim with deep faith, who believes everything from God is for God. And I believe today I came here on this day, 16th of January, 2014, which is the 5th anniversary of the killing of my daughters and my niece, Noor. That's why I will start with some words I wrote to talk to them and to send them, and I will send it to them from here. 5 years have passed. 5 years have passed in a flash, but their cries have not ceased. Their cries of pain and hope, their hearts wrenching cries and pain. Never leave me or my memory. 5 years have passed. Where is Bisan now? Where is Mayar now? Where is Aya now? Where is Noor now? 5 flowers. They drank from the well of learning, and they grew up with morals and values, and they thrived on tolerant Islam. They drank and they slept on Palestine's soil. They loved. I say to them from here, you Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor, you are with the prophets and saints, martyrs and righteous people. Your pure blood. You were my companions and my comrades in my loneliness. You were my friends in my calamity, and my daughters in loving me. I miss you each and every second, and long and search for you. Your names don't leave my side. Bisan, with the beginning of every morning. Mayar, with the cry of every child. Aya, each time I hear a verse from the Quran, and each time the church bells chime. And Noor, with dawn's first light, the promise I had taken upon myself since day one is to keep your names and the Spirit alive, not to forget or give up, not to forget you so long as there is life. On this earth, we will not despair of God's mercy, nor will despair find us. And as a believer, as a Muslim, I fully believe one day I will meet them. So I say to them, we shall meet, God willing. In our life, and each of us, in our life we face challenges. We face ups and downs. That's life. But it's important at the same time to learn how can we challenge ourselves in order to challenge life challenges where life is full of. And when we ask about war, as a Palestinian who was born, raised, lived in refugee camps, that as a child, I never tasted my childhood. As if I was born just to face the misery of life, the suffering, the deprivation, the abject poverty. But I realized that my suffering and others' suffering till now, where millions of people in this world are suffering, and we are watching it, it's not from God. Because everything from God is for good. What is bad and the suffering in this world is man-made. And I realized that's the hope. Thanks God, it's man-made. What can we do to challenge this man-made suffering of not accepting it? What can I do to get rid of the misery of life? And thanks to our parents who lost the land, they lost everything in their life, but they didn't lose hope in their children. They realized that the hope is in their children, and that education is the biggest weapon to face the misery of life. And we have nothing more than that. In this world, we see it. Someone can depress, can oppress, can occupy, can imprison, can deprive. But no one on earth can prevent us from dreaming. Our parents dreamed that they have to get rid of the misery. And as a child, I dreamed to be a medical doctor. I have to work hard to achieve my dream. My life was a war. I was fighting on a daily basis just to survive. Not sure about tomorrow. In a time we see others in this world who are living to fight. And that's what do we want to ask. Where we were born to fight each other or to survive and to give life to others. And when we come to the war, what is war? How much of war do we see on the screen? Is it the soldier who is killed, or the innocent child, mother, or the old? War is our children, our grandchildren dying before they are fully adults, or being disfigured, wounded, or mentally scarred for life. It's hundreds of thousands of human beings dying years before their time. It's our children seeing their bodies, limbs blown of their bodies. It's millions of people separated forever from the ones they loved. War is a genocide. War is a torture. It's a cruelty of humanity. It's a propaganda. It's dishonesty and the slavery of humanity. War is not there to be documented and to be watched. War must be prevented, and to do something to prevent it. That's my life that I was a challenge with. And number 16, that today is the 5th anniversary of my daughters. It will never be erased from my mind. I was the first Palestinian doctor to practice medicine in an Israeli hospital. The Israelis, they used to see Palestinians as workers, as people serving them, working for them. It's time to see Palestinians as a human, as equal, as similar to them. And that Palestinians are skilled as others in this world. And medicine, it has one language. It has one face. It has one culture and one value. It's a human face, value, and culture. When we treat our patients, all of them are similar and equal inside the borders of the hospital. We don't design or develop the treatment according to name, ethnicity, religion, or background. It's according to the disease and the diagnosis. I was proud of it. To prove that to them that we are similar and that we are equal. And that's what I learned from my daughter Bisan. Because these daughters, if I have 100 of them, I thank God every second for everything He gave me and He took from me. I was proud of them because they were armed with love, with education, with the plans, with the dreams. I taught them to be human and to behave as a human. Bisan was the first girl. At the age of 14, I sent to peace camps. I was in Italy. And when a friend called me, it's a camp for girls, I said, I found it. It's girls who can make it. She called me, I found how similar are we. Our children, they found out how similar are we as Muslims, Jewish, Christians, Druze, as people. And we, as parents, as adults, we insert the divide between each other. This divide, which is artificial, which is man-made. 16th of September is the day when I lost my wife of acute leukemia. I thought it's the end of the world because I fully believe children should be raised with their mothers. And my faith and my life taught me the orphan is the one who loses the mother. The mother is the main pillar in the house, in every community. When someone came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asking him, what do you recommend me to do? To take care of whom? He said, your mother. Whom else? Your mother. Whom else? The third, your mother. Whom else? The fourth was your father. The mother is the school. But as a believer, I have to move forward. And I have to continue. And thanks to Bisan, who said, count on God and our support, and to continue your work in the Israeli hospital. The happiest moment in my life as a gynecologist is when I handle the baby to his mother. The cry of the newborn baby is the cry of a new hope. A new life is coming. No difference between the cry of the newborn Palestinians, Israelis, American, Canadian, Muslim, Jewish, Christians. They are a newborn because these children are the future, and they are the life and the beauty of life. I believed in it when I did it. And Bisan, that from here I say to her, I missed you and learning from you. She was 20 years old. She was about to get her BA in English from the Islamic University in Gaza, and to be the first in the university to get it in 3 years, because they never succeeded in their schools, less than 97%. Their teachers were fighting to have them in their classes. After she lost her mother, she came to say to me, now I realized one thing. Because most of our children, the nightmare they have is when they have academic exams. She said, I learned one thing, that academic exams are the easiest exams in life. The most difficult exams are life exams. It's the loss of the beloved ones. And we, as Palestinians, we are tested on a daily basis. As if we were born just to be tested under the witness of the whole world. But we will never give up. And we will never lose hope and God's mercy. And one day, this suffering will find an end to it. I continued. Then, as I said, 16th of January 2009 came when they were killed for nothing they did. And there was no reason to be killed. And when I saw them, that I don't want anyone on earth to see what did I see. Those beautiful girls, they became bars. It was a Friday where they read Surah Al-Kahf. They prayed Dhuhr as if they were going to meet. They were prepared for that day. But I asked myself as a believer why I was saved. Because it happened seconds after I left my daughter's room. If I stayed there a few seconds, I would be gone. And to be added to the hundreds who became just numbers or figures. as we see it these days. Everywhere, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Africa, we are talking about numbers. It's time to zoom in, because saving one's life, you save the world. Killing one, you kill the world. Each human being is a separate world. These people who are killed on a daily basis, it's immoral to think of them as statistics. They have names. They have faces. They have plans. They have dreams. They have hopes. They have parents. They have life. I said, from that moment, this tragedy is for good and will be invested for good. Because I learned from my faith, you may dislike something and later on to realize it's for good. And you may dislike it and later on to like it. Said, why I was saved? And it was God's plan at that moment that I have to be interviewed live by the Israeli TV. So my cries and the scream were heard through the world. And what satisfied me the second day, when the Israeli Prime Minister, well, most of Israel, they know the Palestinian doctor. Because I started it in early 90s, crossing the borders. All of them, they know the Gaza or the Palestinian doctor. He announced unilateral ceasefire to stop this human craziness and the killing of innocent civilians. Because in any war, in the 21st century, who pays the price? It's the innocent civilians. It's mothers and the children. 90% of the casualties are mothers and the children. And this satisfied me. At least it saved others' lives. But no one should be killed in order to save others. We need to prevent, not to treat. And from that moment, I swore to God and swore to my daughters, I will never rest. I will never relax. I will never give up or forget you till I meet you one day. Because I believe I will meet them one day to say to them, I am proud of you, and that your holy souls and noble blood wasn't waste. It made a difference in others' lives, but which means we can use? We all have these means. It's the wisdom that God blessed us with. It's the kind, courageous, and the strong words. Words are stronger than bullets. The one who killed my daughters with the bullet killed them once. But we have words, and the word can kill every second. And the good deeds. And that's what I am determined to and living for. When I wrote my book, I Shall Not Hate, were the people they were thinking, I will be drowning or sinking in hatred. I may have the right to hate, but I will ask myself, is it the right way to bring my daughters justice? I need to be strong. I need to be determined, healthy, more focused in order to bring them justice and to make a difference and to prove that this tragedy is for good. And hatred is a disease. It's a disease of the minds and hearts. It's a poison. It's a fire which eats and burns the one who carries it. It's not going. It's not going beyond the one who carries it. So in life, I was a victim of the killing of my daughters. But thanks God, I am not a victim anymore. I am surviving. I am taller and more determined, stronger than before. And I will never accept to be a victim of hatred. So in life, if you were tested with any challenge by anyone, any man-made challenge, you are a victim of that suffering. Don't accept to be a victim more than once. What can you do to challenge the perpetrator? By moving forward. And in life is a journey. Life is a game. In any game, we don't judge the result of the game from the first minute. If any team to score one goal from the first minute, it doesn't mean that this team will win the game. We have to wait. In soccer, we have 90 minutes. Wait another 89 minutes. If you gave up from the first minute, you are gone. We need to wait 89 minutes and to have the result. And to see what can we do to take care of ourselves. The biggest weapon of mass destruction is hate in this world, in the souls of the people, without thinking of themselves. We need to be angry. Angry in what way? Not to lose control. Anger which energizes us in a way to take responsibility. What can we do to challenge and to move forward? Not to waste our time by blaming others. The easiest way is to blame. Instead of that, take responsibility and move forward. And as I said, I learned from my daughters. My daughter Shada, who was in the high school, during what is called war, 3 weeks, she was studying day and night on candles to be one of the top 10 in Palestine in the high school. She was severely wounded. She saw her sisters killed in front of her eyes. She was treated in the hospital I am working in. Two days later, while in the hospital, with the bandages over her right eye and her right hand, she said, "If I can't see with my right eye, I have my left. If I can't write with my right hand, from tomorrow to bring me papers and pencils to practice with my left hand, I will never give up and to go back to achieve the dreams of my sisters." She spent 4 months in the hospital and went back home. She lost the sight in one eye, 2 malformed fingers in her right hand. And what did she suffer in 1 year? I think mountains can't tolerate it. At the start of the school year, she lost her mother. 4 months later, she lost the 3 sisters and niece and was severely wounded. And the high school exam in Palestine, it's not like Canada. It's a standardized, unified exam for the whole country, from the whole curriculum at the same moment. They don't care what did you pass through. She said, I have to do it. She went, and I didn't expect much from Shada. And the day we planned to move to Canada, they announced the result, and she succeeded as nothing happened to her. She succeeded 96%. And what is she doing now? She is studying computer engineering at the University of Toronto. The antidote of hatred and revenge is success. Not to give up, to keep moving, to challenge. What do we call the perpetrator? Don't let yourself down. And that's my life, what I learned. Life is what we make it. Always has been, always will be. It's our efforts, our acts. What do we plant, we will collect. The more we work hard, the more we will succeed and enjoy our success. Nothing in life is impossible. And that's what I learned. The only impossible thing in life I believe in is to return my daughters back. But I can keep them alive. And they are alive. Because I see them, I talk to them, and I am accountable to them. And they are asking me, what did you do for us? I say to them, I do everything you want, and your plans and the dreams are fulfilled. And I am sending you prayers, blessings, good deeds. And that's the hope. Because hope is there. Hope is life. As a doctor, I will never lose hope as long as the patient is still alive. But we need to ask why the patient is not improving. Maybe the diagnosis is wrong. The treatment is wrong. We need to find out the causes. When you see someone in the street who is violent, don't blame this child, he is violent. Or a student who is not doing well, don't blame that student. Why this student is not doing well? We need to dig deeper and to ask 5 times why. Ask. Look around and ask and learn about others. And then you can take action on evidence. And I will share you the story that I read about taking responsibility and not judging things in a superficial way. There is a story many years ago of an elementary teacher, and this is a lesson to all of us as teachers, as academics, as parents, as people. Her name was Miss Thompson, and as she stood in front of her 5th grade class on the very first day of school, she told the children a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her students and said that she loved them all the same. But that was impossible. Because there in the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Teddy. Miss Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed that he didn't play well with the other children, that his clothes were messy, and that he constantly needed a bath. And Teddy could be unpleasant. It got to the point where Miss Thompson would actually take delight in marking his papers with the broad red pen, making bold X's, and then putting a big F at the top of his papers. At the school where Miss Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records, and she put Teddy's off until the last. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for a surprise. Teddy's first grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and had good manners. He is a joy to be around." His second grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because his mother has a terminal illness and life at home must be struggle." His third grade teacher wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if some steps are not taken." Teddy's fourth grade teacher wrote, "Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He does not have many friends and sometimes sleeps in class." By now, Miss Thompson realized the problem, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy. His present was clumsily wrapped in the heavy brown paper that he got from a grocery bag. Miss Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing and a bottle that was 1/4 full of perfume. But she stifled the children's laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and dabbing some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy stayed after the school that day, just long enough to say, "Miss Thompson, today you smelled just like my mom used to." After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching, reading and writing, and arithmetics. Instead, she began to teach children. Miss Thompson paid particular attention to Teddy. As she worked with him, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class. And despite her lie that she would love all the children the same, Teddy became one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under the door from Teddy telling her that she was still the best teacher he ever had in his whole life. 6 years went,
by before she got another note from Teddy. He then wrote that he had finished high school, third in his class, and she was still the best teacher in his life. 4 years after that, she got another letter saying that while things had been tough at times, he stayed in school, had stuck with it, and would soon graduate from college with the highest of honor. He assured Miss Thompson that she was the best teacher in his life. Then 4 more years passed, and yet another letter came. This time he explained that after he got his bachelor's degree, he decided to go a little further. The letter explained that she was still the best and favorite teacher. But now, his name was a little longer. The letter was signed Theodore F. Stoddard, MD. He became a doctor. The story doesn't end here. You see, there was yet another letter that spring. Teddy said he had met this girl and was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple of years ago, and he was wondering if Miss Thompson might agree to sit in the place at the wedding that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Miss Thompson did, and guess what? She wore that bracelet, the one with several rhinestones missing, and she made sure she was wearing the perfume that Teddy remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas. They hugged each other, and Dr. Stoddard whispered in Miss Thompson's ear, "Thank you, Miss Thompson, for believing in me. Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." Miss Thompson, with tears in her eyes, whispered back. She said, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I did not know how to teach until I met you. So we should not blame others. We should not judge things in a superficial way. We need to dig deeper. And if we want to change, we need to change the context in which the people are living. The people who are hungry, give them food. The people who are occupied, give them freedom. The people who are sick, cure and heal them. That's what is needed. It's good that we are meeting in this day, because everything starts with words. And the patient doesn't need only words. The patient is in need of a prescription and action. And each of us has something to give. Give a smile. Give a good word to others. Communicate with your neighbors. Volunteer. Help others. It's not an issue of money. Some people, they think of just donation. You have many things to give. And the most important, don't ask others to change. Because God will never change what is in people till they change what is in their hearts, minds, and souls. Start by yourself. Trigger the change in yourself, then others can follow you. In my life, I am in debt. In my success, from Jabalia camp to Cairo University to London, to Italy, to Belgium, to Harvard, and I remember it. All of these universities I went, I wanted and wish if my parents were alive to enjoy what did they insert and they plant. But our parents, when it comes to reap what did they plant, they are gone. But we will never forget them. In particular, for me, the Palestinian mother is the hero. I respect all of leaders, but the unsung hero is the Palestinian mother and every mother in every community. That's why I succeeded, because of my mother, my wife, and my daughters. And if you go to any country to see any change and to ask about the development of that country, don't ask about the economic situation or the GDP. Ask about the level of women's education and women's role in that country. That's the key indicator of development. And I fully believe this world can endure with what they say can endure with the truth and justice. It can endure with justice and women's education and role. And I want to see the plans, dreams and hopes of Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor fulfilled by other girls. My daughters were able to achieve their dreams. What about other girls who have the same potential as my daughters, but they don't have the financial ability to do what my daughters can? And as Khalifa said, poverty is the biggest enemy of humanity. I can't tolerate it to see someone. That's why Daughters for Life was established in memory of my daughters Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor, for education of girls and women from the Middle East, girls who are succeeding from hardship. And in this way, I can prove to my daughters and to the world that this tragedy is for good and was invested for good, and that Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor are still alive in every daughter we educate. It's not the biology, it's the humanity. Every girl we support, I see in them Bisan, Mayar, Aya, and Noor. That's why I have hope in this world. When we all come together, we can make the world the one we want. Because one can't do everything, but each of us can do something. Start with that something you can do. And when we scale up, we make the world we want. They used to say the 19th century was European one. The 20th was American. I hope the 21st to be the one of humanity and women's role. I achieved all of my dreams. I have one dream. I would love to live that day to see my daughters and my children, living children, to live free, safe, secure as other children in this world, in their independent state, side by side to others. But no one in this world is free as long as others are not. So it's time to stand for the freedom of all and to fight for the freedom of all. At that moment, we can live in this world and to have our future, our life. So I can say to you, have faith. Faith is helpful. When everything is gone, God is there. At that time of a tragedy, where the world was watching what is happening in Gaza, at the moment I saw my daughters, I directed my face to the one who is present when others are not, to the one who is opening his eyes when others are closing, to the one who is listening when others are deaf and mute. I directed my face just to God. And if you go back to see it, I was saying, oh God, Ya Allah, Ya Rab, oh Lord, that's what is needed. So have faith, have hope, and most important, faith and hope without action means nothing. Is to do something. At the end, we can make the world the one we want, and our children, who are the future and the hope, and that's the legacy we can inherit our children. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We will now open up a period of time for questions and answers. We would ask that you keep it to questions and not necessarily long comments, but questions for Dr. Abuelaish.
Dr. Abuelaish, thank you first of all for being here, and thanks for the great lecture. My question here is that one can understand talking about forgiveness and compassion once the problem is over. I mean, once it's gone, so you can forgive the one who did a bad thing to you. But considering what you have talked about and considering Teddy's great story, so what's your practical message to those who are still living under suffering, still living under occupation, and who are suffering today and who knows that they will suffer tomorrow even? So what's your message to them to feel about those who are making these bad things to them? Thank you.
Those people are doing their part. But my message is to you who is watching them, and what can we do to help them, to strengthen them? And we have a good saying, support your brother if he is oppressor or oppressed, to prevent the oppressor and to help the oppressed to get rid of the oppressor. So it's an international role. All of the world should act to support. It's not the responsibility of the people who are suffering, and to keep them watching them suffering and say to them, keep patient, keep steadfast. As a gynecologist, if a woman who is in labor, I am coming to watch her and she's screaming in labor pain, and to say to her, keep patient. What am I going to do? Keep patient. What can I do to her? That's the question. Ask me, what can I do to this woman who is in labor to relieve her pain and to have a safe delivery?
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. When the people, they ask me, from where did you get this? I say, number one is my faith. Number two is my faith. Number three is my faith. Number four is my life experience, because it wasn't the first test in my life. As Palestinians, we are tested on a daily basis, waiting for the next challenge. And we are expecting all of the time the worst. And number three is my profession. As a medical doctor, when I treat patients, if the patient died, I don't stay with that patient. I move to treat the other patient, but I learn the lessons. Why the first patient died, and what can I do to prevent any more deaths? And even because it's cultural and my life experience, I lived in Palestine, in Gaza, because lack of safety and security about tomorrow. That's the nightmare for us. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, if we will wake up to be alive or not. Even I am here in Toronto, in Canada, which is a safe country. The psychology follows me. I used to be in Palestine to do shopping for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, because we are unsure about the availability of these commodities. When I go here in Toronto to do shopping, I have to do shopping for 1 month. I want to secure my children. That's the mentality. And I know it's wrong, but I want you to understand why. I want to secure them, that everything is available for them. Because tomorrow is not in our hand as Palestinians. For you, you can plan. But Palestinians, you are talking about, they can't plan tomorrow. They live the moment. Even Palestinians, I have seen them, I am living there. They go in the street, you ask them, where are you going? He said, I am walking. And once they are walking, any way can lead to the direction. They are walking, they have no plans. They have no life. And that's what can we do, not to blame them. If they were crazy, even what do we call, if they were violent. But we need to ask, what made them violent? Violence is a disease. Hatred is a disease. It's a result. A result of what? Of exposure. Exposure to what? To a harm. And this harm can be psychological, economic, physiological, pathological. So if we get rid of this exposure, there will never be any disease. Yes? The foundation, it's a Canadian registered charity called Daughters for Life, established in 2011. Within that period of time, we succeeded in 2011 to give 25 awards to newly graduate girls from the Middle East, or from Palestine, or from Israel, and from Jordan. It's for girls who are succeeding from hardship without any discrimination on religion, ethnic background. It's for all. In 2012, we gave 40 awards. 2013, I was there, we gave 80 awards to Palestinians, Israelis, Jordanians, and Lebanese. We have now collaboration with many universities, with the Trent University for graduate studies, where we have our students doing their masters. We have at Humber College, we have at a new college of Florida in the States, Oxford Brookes University, and the Aegean University for Women. Aegean University for Women, we have 5 girls, 2 Syrians and 3 Palestinians. Oxford, we have 2 girls And even now, we prepare 2 girls from Israel, one from the Golan Heights and one from Nazareth, to prepare them for the English. I am confident by September 2014, we will have 40 scholars for undergraduate and graduate study. And it's continuing, increasing, and I hope, as we were talking with the President, with your support, with your engagement, to see girls from the Middle East through Daughters for Life coming to King's College and to be scholars and seeds of collaboration. And in this way, we can globalize education and spread our act as Canada can be great and has an impact in the world. Yes? The way we raise them, my children, I am proud of them. The one who were killed and those who are living. And even some people, sometimes they were surprised as a gynecologist and even infertility specialist. That's my subspecialty, infertility and IVF. To ask me, when I go to the States, to other countries, how many children do you have? I was happy with my children. I have 6 daughters, 2 sons. 3 were killed, and now I have 3 daughters and 2 sons. Children are the most resilient, and Palestinian children are the most resilient I ever saw. When you change the context in which they live, they are easy to change. During the first Intifada, I was in Jabalia camp, which is the birthplace of the first Intifada. When a new era started with what we call Oslo Agreement, and there is a new pieces coming, the first Intifada children, their job is just to throw stones. That's their weapon. Once the Israeli tanks started to withdraw from the occupied territories, these children, what did they do? The other day we were throwing stones. On that day they started to throw them with candies and olive branches. God bless you, leave us. Palestinian children are ready to move. And my children, this comes to misunderstanding, and that our enemies are our ignorance, our arrogance, greed, and fear. I will speak it openly. You see it on the cover of the book. It's Heather's book. Heather Reisman, the owner of Indigo. She read the book, and they called me, the publisher, Heather is willing to meet you. So I asked, who is Heather? I don't know. So they said, Heather Reisman. I said, what do you mean? Tell me. And they were talking about Indigo that I don't know also. I met with her. So the first question to ask me about my children. I worked for about 17 years in Israel. I understand the mentality, I understand the culture, I speak the language, and as a doctor, I practice with evidence-based medicine. I like the evidence, and I like to prove to others. I said, if I said to her, they are good, she may be suspicious. I said, Heather, welcome to my house and to see my kids. And she came to see them. And the children, as I said, they are resilient, they are moving forward, They are succeeding. Dalal, the eldest, will finish her engineering degree. Shada will finish next year. Muhammad, he will finish his international baccalaureate next year. Rafa is a grade 8, and the youngest is a grade 6, but they never forget from where did they come. And I will never forget from where did I come. I succeeded in my life, but there are many there waiting who can't get rid of where they are to give them hand to support them. And that's what is needed. What can we do to the people we left behind? And that's important, and that's what do I teach my children, and that they are focused, and God bless all the children. As I said, children are the life and the beauty of life. And they give me life. I feel alive because of them and living for them. Yes?
Could you tell us about your early experience in the Israeli hospital? And then also, where do you want your foundation to be in 10 years?
Oh, when I went to Israel, of course, my first experience with Israelis as a child, working in farms, in every dirty work you imagine. But when I went to work, because of my interest in infertility, and when I was in London, I started the issue of infertility and realized most of the experts are from Israeli hospitals. I communicated with them, and I went there to practice, and I learned from that our problems are our ignorance, arrogance, and lack of trust. And the lack of trust is the result of lack of communication. And I was honest in my belief in this job. I was one of the team. It became my home, my friends, that till now I am in contact with. I am communicating, collaborating with them in many research projects, even at the level of the patients. When I am in my office or at the delivery room, the women, whether Israelis, Muslims, Jewish, even the Israeli Jewish women, to say it's good that Izzeldin is here, not David or Moshe. Because what the women do they expect? They want a good doctor. How do you care? They don't care what is your religion. If you are Palestinian, Canadian, American, they want the good care. I missed it, but I am continuing with it. Even during the tragedy, all of my colleagues, and because of them, who said the courageous word. Because at the time of the tragedy, the IDF, they denied the shelling of the house. And it was another war I have to fight. Just I want them to admit that we bombed the house. And they know. It took 1 month. And thanks to my colleagues, my friends, who wrote an appeal to Ehud Barak, we need to know the truth. Who bombed the house? It took 1 month. Where they are, the investigator, they are the perpetrator, and they are the judge. But I say it, the sun, whatever the winter and the weather is, it should come one day. So the truth came large after 1 month to admit we bombed the house of Dr. Abuelaish and we killed his daughters. And it didn't stop. Till now, I am fighting for what? Just to get an apology. But I am sure in my life, or my children will continue to bring that justice. For my daughters, these girls, these innocent children, they deserve the apology. You are a victim, and you are fighting to prove that you are a victim. What world are we living in? But thanks God, we must not lose our control. The opposite, to be determined, whatever the challenges, it will never make me weaker, and will never be defeated, because the defeat is the defeat of the soul and the spirit. The foundation in 10 years. I hope in 10 years, because the case is running, any compensation, because human life can't be valued with money. I said it. Any money that comes from the killing, this is a holy money. It's not for use. It goes for the foundation. And I hope where Gaza and Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are waiting for humanitarian aids that Palestinians in Gaza can give, to establish a college like King's College in the Gaza Strip, where others from other countries to come to Gaza and to say to the world, we are giving as you used to give us. I hope that day will come, and to see the college, Daughters for Life, established in the Gaza Strip for education of girls and women. Yes?
Thanks, Doctor. Your book I read is very interesting. That's why I'm here tonight. And the question I have, and you mentioned it, the war in the Middle East, in Africa, and the poverty. But when you were talking about the scholarship, you just talked about the Middle East. You haven't included Africa. Can you comment that?
I agree with you. We were talking even at the dinner, because the girls were from the Middle East, but I am in the process to expand even the bylaws we have as a registered Canadian charity to be international for all girls. Because there is no difference between a Palestinian, African, Asian, or any girl. And I don't mind. If I can't support any Palestinian girl and I can support an African girl, I would be more than happy to do that. Yes? Because the faith, any one of us, even the atheist, has faith. Being not to believe in something, you have faith. You believe in nothing. So we need that. It's important to understand it. So we can share forgiveness and passion. Start to think of yourself, because our body, our human body is a trust. And we care about our souls and our bodies. We don't want to do any harm to our bodies. Why some people, they don't smoke? Because they will say, I don't want to harm my body. So with these issues, not forgiving, forgiveness, when you forgive your body, you are lighter and easy to move faster to challenge the one who did harm to you. But if you started to carry it and to carry this heavy weight, you are sinking deeper and you are not moving forward. We need to be energized, strong, solid in order to move forward. So first, think of yourself to be strong, not to carry any mental or psychological issues that stops you from moving forward. And most of the time, it's mental, psychological barriers we create in our minds. We need to overcome these mental, psychological barriers. I said it even in Canada. I made many mistakes in life. But one of my wisest decisions when I decided to come to Canada and to choose between Harvard or the University of Toronto. And I chose U of T, and it was the right place. And the first day, we learned from our arrival in Canada, when my daughter Rafa, to meet our neighbors, and I introduced myself to our neighbors. She asked if they have children. She went to play with them. 8 hours later, our neighbor is coming and to say to me, Izzeldin, you have your children and I have my children. They will go to the same public school in the neighborhood. Instead of making it difficult to them, why not to move from the backyard and to make the backyard as one, to take part of the wooden fence? The first day was to smash and destroy barriers, not to build walls of separations. We need to build the bridges and to make life easier for the people so we can overcome these barriers. Yes?
I've heard that some people are going from different countries to walk with the children and others in the West Bank to give them some protection from some of the difficulties that they need to face here. Have you heard about that?
Sorry, if you can, repeat it.
I have heard that people from some different countries are going to be in West Bank to walk with children and others as they move along to help to protect them from some difficulties which they face. And I wonder if you've been familiar with that.
Any effort like that is helpful, but even during the war in Gaza, no one was protecting Palestinians, and they can't because it's not in their control. It's the control of the occupation and the Israeli IDF, and even these solidarity groups, you need permission from the IDF to enter and to support. It needs this voice, and these actions are important. But how influential are they? But we need the governments and the international community to practice a pressure on the Israeli government for what? Believe me, to protect the Israelis from the self-destructive act. Because what are they doing is not destructive to Palestinians, it's destructive to themselves. So they should be saved from their self-destructive act, because their freedom, I say to the Israelis, to my friends, when you ask about, I say to them, you are not free as long as Palestinians are not. You are not safe as long as Palestinians are not. Your safety, security, freedom, a future is not dependent on the Palestinians. It's linked to the Palestinian safety, security, independence, and the future. So that's what is needed from all governments to promote, to stop these brutal, destructive acts to the future of the Palestinians and the Israelis.
I have to say, after reading your book, I was deeply moved, and this evening, after hearing you speak, with incredible gratitude and respect for the wonderful human being that you are and the work that you are doing, and for all that you have challenged us with this evening and inspired us. Thank you for your vulnerability and your compassion.
Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.
I would like to now invite Abdel Fattah Tawakkal, Imam and Head of Islamic Affairs at the London Muslim Mosque, to offer closing remarks.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, peace be unto all of you. I think it's safe to say that there's not an individual in this theater that has not been inspired or moved by the words of Dr. Izzeldin. And I'm reminded of a tradition that we have from the Prophet, in which he said that the affair of the believer is something that is amazing, is something that is wondrous, because absolutely everything that happens to him is good. If he is afflicted or if he is given a blessing, then he is grateful and he shows gratitude and thanks, and in that is good. But if he is afflicted with harm, hardship, difficulty, then he is patient, and in that there is good. In terms of patience, we understand that it's actually the people who are going through the affliction and who are going through the hardships, their response is to have patience, because they're in a position that they can't do anything for themselves. They're incapacitated, such as the woman who's going in labor and feeling the pain. Her response is to be patient in that state because she can't do anything to alleviate the pain. But the response of those who can do something, such as the doctor, is not to say to be patient, as Dr. Izzeldin pointed out. The responsibility of those who can do something about it to alleviate the pain, then they need to take the action in order to do that. And so before us tonight, we have an example of an individual who was able to rise above his hardships and his difficulties and his dire circumstances in order to show the potential of the human being. And this is something that is vast if we reflect upon it. And I hope that this night was not just simply a night for inspiration, but rather reflection in terms of what each and every individual here, including myself, can do to help alleviate the suffering of other people and to recognize and acknowledge our potential as human beings to do good. Because when he was talking about the human capacity to divide, he took the word divide and he was take the second D out of the divide, which represents the human capacity to destroy, the human capacity to cause disease or to have diseases within themselves, the human capacity to divide, which all leads to death of the soul and of the body. But he showed us the potential of the human to take that D, the second D from divide, and replace it with the N from the newborn, and to replace it with the N of doing that which is noble in order to give us the divine, because that is the source of his goodness, that it comes from the divine. To err is human, but to forgive is divine. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish for sharing with us his experiences in life and for sharing with us this special moment of the 5th anniversary of the difficulty and the hardship that he has suffered in his life, but to show us the potential that the human being has to rise above that and to be able to see that it is possible to achieve, to be successful, and to be able to go beyond that which causes you harm and difficulty and hardship, and then to do that which is divine, because this is the source of our life. And as he said, that's the source of his faith. That's what got him through all that he got through. And it's by the grace of the divine that he was able to get to the position that he is in today. And it is through the grace of the divine that he will be able to achieve anything that he achieves for the rest of his life. And so then we hope that this is an inspiration for all of us to seek that potential within us and then to act upon it and to be able to realize it. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he said that those who do not thank people do not thank God. And so I want to thank Dr. Izzeldin specifically for this night on behalf of myself personally, as well as on behalf of everyone here for sharing with us these beautiful words. I want to thank King's College for being able to put together this lecture as well as this series of lecture, the Religion Life series, so that we can all begin to become inspired and to reflect upon what it is that we can do as individuals in order to contribute to the betterment of humanity. Thank you very much, and I wish you all God bless.
I just want to make one last brief note that, as has been mentioned, Dr. Abulaish's book called I Shall Not Hate is being sold at the table outside the theater, if you didn't notice that when you came in. And there is also a donation box out in the foyer as well for a free will offering. All monies tonight collected, whether for the books or in the donation box, will directly go to Dr. Abuelaish's foundation called Daughters for Life, as you have heard about this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.